In the last video, I got the lead screw and motor installed for the X-axis. And to start this one off, I'm going to be closing the lead screw nut on the back. And that's the reason why I made that hole in the back of the gantry for access to this nut. Since I'm using 3D printed parts, I need to be able to get at these quickly in case they need to be replaced. And with that done, I can hook up the motor for the X-axis and try it out for the first time. I had the Y-axis connected already, so that was good to go, but I temporarily hooked up the Z-axis as well so that we could see all three. I needed a drag chain for the X-axis, so I designed it and 3D printed it, and it's in several pieces. This first section is straight, and those black cover pieces you see just pop out if I need to access the wires. And I'm just holding this on here with double-sided tape. And that should hold it well enough because there's no real force on this. But if it ever lets go, I'll add screws. And then the other end of the drag chain gets fastened to the Z-axis, but I later changed this to lift it up a little bit higher. It was a little bit too low here. And then I can pull the wires through that I need, plus a hose for the coolant, and get the spindle hooked up. And the wire that I fed up here has enough wires for the stepper motor and the limit switches, and I've got one left over to use as ground. And that'll ensure that all of the metal parts on the Z-axis are grounded. And here's the part that I made to lift up that end of the drag chain above the motor. And I squeezed a little bit of super glue in here, but I'm also driving in screws. And what I'm doing here is installing a bumper for the limit switch on the Z-axis, the upper part anyway. At that position, mark out the hole, drill it out, and then drive in a screw to hold it. And the limit switch has one on the top and one on the bottom in the same package, so I need another bumper on the bottom as well. And I didn't film a lot of the electrical that I did, mainly because it took too long to do it, and it was spread out over several days. Because like plumbing, I don't like doing wiring. But it starts with this control box that I already built, and you saw this if you saw the original build for the metal cutting CNC. And I took that up and I mounted it on the side of the cabinet, and then all of the limit switches are just limit switches, very simple. But I designed and printed a housing for the switches to go in to make them easier to install. This is another 3D printed part that I'm putting together, and it fits over the nose of the spindle and has two nozzles that will shoot the coolant down rather than using that flex hose that I had before. And I don't know if this is going to work properly, but I figured it was worth a try. So the benefit of this is that the hose goes straight from this thing right back to the pump. And I printed this fitting in a vertical position. So in order to increase the strength of the layer bonds, I'm just going to use some very thin super glue. And speaking of 3D printed parts, I made an apron to cover the concrete on the front, and it has some branding in there as well. I don't have a lot left to do before the machine is finished, but a major part is the bed itself. And I'm making that mostly from the same plastic that I used on the old metal cutting CNC. In fact, what you're watching right now is the bed from the old metal cutting CNC. You can see the rust stains there. And the first operation is to cut all the holes that match the anchors that I cast into the concrete bed. And when the machine was finished doing that, I ran a program that flattened it using a big wing cutter. And with that done, I can bring it up to the shop and spread on some glue that will bond it down to the concrete base. I'll get that spread on, and then I'm going to drive in a bunch of screws temporarily just to hold it down until that glue sets. The glue that I'm using doesn't actually stick that well to this plastic. Nothing does, but it will hold it down until I can get it flattened. And while it was drying, I took the time to do a little bit more electrical work and get the VFD for the spindle hooked up and temporarily mounted on the window frame. I let the glue dry for a couple of days, and now I'm going to surface this bed. And I'm doing this manually, just driving the gantry back and forth, cutting a bit at a time. And this first pass here wasn't deep enough. It wasn't cutting all the way across. So I lowered it down and ran it again. And once again, this wasn't quite deep enough either. So I lowered it down yet again and ran it through. And this time, it cut enough off to make the whole thing flat. And as you can see, milling the bed flat creates quite a mess, even though it's not taking very much off. And I don't know if I needed to do this, but I took the screws out gradually as I moved back because, like I said, glue doesn't stick to this plastic that well. And I wanted to make sure that it was held down while this cutting was happening. Now, to get to the places that the spindle couldn't reach, I rigged this thing up. And it's just my trim router with the piece double-sided tape to the bottom. And the bit is down flush with that so that it makes a flush cut and cuts away the excess material. And I can use a scraper to get rid of any small ridges. Now back down to the big CNC, I've got yet another piece of that plastic that I'm once again drilling all the holes in. And this is the second layer of the bed, and I'm just going to use super glue to hold this down. Those two layers build the bed up almost an inch thick. I've got 2 more layers to go, and the first of those is a piece of 1/4 inch aluminum. And the first step, of course, is to check to make sure my material is square. I always do that. And then I'm going to rough cut it with my circular saw, and that leaves a burr that I need to get rid of. Otherwise, this will be very difficult to push through the saw because the burr will catch on the table saw top. And I'm spreading on a little bit of bacon grease here to make the cutting go smoother. And you can think of this as a fixture plate because I'm going to drill all the same holes as I did with the other 2 layers to hold it down. But I'm going to drill a second series of holes that will be tapped out so that I can use those to clamp down the material that I'll be cutting on this machine. And I'm using WD-40 as the coolant. And I figured I might as well do it while it's here. I'll cut some branding into the middle. And immediately after I got that part cut, I can cut the top layer, the actual spoil board. This is 1/4 inch thick acrylic. And it's going to drill all the same holes in it as the plate underneath, but it's also going to counterbore some of the holes. And the saying goes that you never turn your back on a falling tree, and it's a good idea not to turn your back on a CNC either, because it can mess up the holes that you're cutting when the bit gets buried in plastic. But not a big deal, it just messed up the last few holes. And it is, after all, the spoil board. And now I can tap out the holes in the aluminum plate, and I've got a guide block to help with that. And all of these are tapped out to 1/4 20. Tapping all those holes created burrs, and the fastest and easiest way to get rid of those is to sand the whole surface, and it also cleans it up and makes it look prettier. And then I was very careful to make sure that everything is nice and clean, and I can get that laid onto the bed. And immediately after I got that on, I wiped it off and got the plexiglass layer laid down as well. And I'm using 2-inch screws to hold everything down to the concrete base. These screw into those anchors that I cast in the beginning. And these are treated deck screws so that they'll resist rusting. And here it is, all finished and almost ready to make the first parts on it.